Welcome back to the channel. What you're about to hear will remind you that some blessings wear rags before robes. She was just returning from the stream that evening when she saw him. A man, lying near the footpath, barely breathing. His clothes were torn, and his lips cracked like old firewood. Most people would have crossed to the other side and kept walking, but not her. She dropped her calabash, rushed to him, and knelt by his side. His eyes fluttered weakly. He tried to speak, but his voice came out like dry wind. Without thinking, she poured some water into her palm and raised it to his lips. He drank like someone who had been crawling through the desert. "Please, don't sleep," she whispered. "You'll be fine, okay?" He blinked slowly, but she wasn't sure he even heard her. She had no clue who he was. To her, he was just a stranger in need. She looked around, hoping to see someone, anyone, but the bush path was quiet. The sun was sliding away, and shadows were getting longer. She took off her wrapper and used it to cover his body. Then, with her heart beating like a drum, she half-dragged, half-carried him to her compound. The man was heavy, but something inside her refused to let him go. Her mother shouted when she saw them at the gate. "Who is he? What happened? Why are you bringing a dying man into my house?" She didn't have answers. Just a shaking voice and eyes filled with worry. "He needs help, Mama. Please." Her mother grumbled but didn't say more. Maybe she saw something in her daughter's face. Maybe she remembered that life could flip at any moment. That night, they gave him warm water and food. She watched him closely. There was something strange about his hands. They were soft, not like someone used to labor. Even in sleep, his posture was different, like a person who once wore power like a shirt. But it didn't matter. To her, he was just a man who needed saving. She didn't know her small act would shake the entire kingdom. By morning, the man was still breathing, but barely. Her mother kept shaking her head. "Hope this your kindness won't put us in trouble." She didn't answer. Her mind was fixed on the man lying on their bamboo bed, wrapped in her old wrapper. His eyes opened for a few seconds, then closed again. He hadn't said a word. She spent the day nursing him, soaking a cloth in cool water and wiping his forehead, feeding him pap little by little, and whispering to him like a child. Neighbors peeked through the fence. Some muttered that she had brought bad luck. Others said she was foolish. She didn't care. One afternoon, he opened his eyes properly. She was sitting beside him, peeling cassava. Where am I?" he asked, voice hoarse. She turned quickly, almost dropping the knife. "You're safe. You fainted near the bush path. I brought you here." He stared at her, confused. "You brought me all the way?" She nodded, smiling gently. "Don't try to talk too much. You need to rest." He tried to sit but winced in pain. "Please. Just rest." He obeyed. His eyes scanned the small compound, mud walls, zinc roof, chickens running around, an old woman pounding something with tired hands. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "For what?" she asked. "For being a burden." She laughed lightly. "You're not. You'll be fine." She didn't ask his name, and he didn't offer it. He looked like someone running from something. His eyes held stories, but she didn't press. Days passed. His strength returned slowly. He started helping with small things, fetching firewood, sweeping the compound, even laughing with the old woman who once wanted to chase him away. But one thing stayed the same: he never said where he came from. Sometimes, at night, she would hear him mumble things in his sleep. Names. Orders. Something about guards and betrayal. Once, he screamed. She rushed in and found him sweating, holding his chest like he'd been stabbed. The next morning, he avoided her eyes. "Was it a dream?" she asked. He forced a smile. "Something like that." But the truth was cracking through. bit by bit. And soon, the secret he carried would no longer hide in silence. He stayed for 2 weeks. By then, the villagers had gotten used to seeing him sweep the compound or carry a bucket from the well. The old woman began to call him Uni Oka, not because he was light-skinned, but because he behaved like someone that had never suffered before. But the girl noticed things. The way he walked, as if trained. The way he observed before he spoke. And how he sometimes stared into the distance, like he was remembering a world far from here. One evening, as they sat under the mango tree, he asked, "What's your dream?" She smiled. "Dream? Yes. If you could do anything, go anywhere, what would you choose?" She looked at the sky. "I don't know. Maybe I'll open a small shop. Or maybe I'll just be happy. That's something too, ABI." He chuckled. "It is. Happiness is rare, even for those who seem to have everything." She looked at him, curious. "You speak like someone that has seen plenty." He paused, then turned to her. "And you act like someone who has seen too little." Their eyes locked. Something passed between them, an unspoken truth. That night, he washed his only shirt and hung it to dry. She saw a mark on his back, deep, healed scars that looked like he was once flogged or punished harshly. She didn't ask. She just handed him a wrapper to wear until it dried. But in the corner of her heart, questions gathered like dust. One morning, just as the cock crowed, a strange noise filled the compound. Horses. Real horses. Then came men, dressed in fine traditional attire, bearing royal emblems. Before anyone could understand what was happening, they bowed before him. "Your Highness, forgive us," one of them said. "We've searched everywhere. Your father is sick with worry." The girl dropped the pot she was carrying. It shattered. Her mother held her head. What did they call him? The man she saved was royalty. And her world was about to change in a way she never expected. He didn't want to leave. They begged him. "Your father is gravely ill. The council is restless. The kingdom needs you." But his eyes kept shifting back to the girl, standing there, barefoot, with shame and shock dancing across her face. She couldn't even look at him. He took slow steps towards her. "I was going to tell you," he said. She shook her head. "No, you weren't." He sighed. "I didn't know if I could trust anyone. Not after what happened." "Then why trust me to save your life?" He looked down. "Because, something about you felt safe." She didn't reply. The compound was silent now. Even the chickens had stopped moving. The old woman cleared her throat. "So, Your Highness," she said, mocking slightly, "are you going to reward us with bags of rice or just vanish like harmattan breeze?" He smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Mama, I owe you more than I can say." He turned back to the girl. "Come with me." She blinked. "Go where?" "To the palace. As a guest. As someone important to me." The weight of those words sank deep. The neighbors were already whispering. Is he courting her? Maybe he wants to marry her. She'll embarrass herself there. She turned away. "I can't go." "Why?" "I don't belong in your world. I don't even own slippers fit for a palace." He moved closer. "Then I'll walk barefoot beside you." But her pride was louder than his charm. She went into the house and shut the door. He stood there, torn between duty and heart. Eventually, he mounted his horse and rode off with the guards. She watched from behind the curtain, tears wetting her cheek. She saved him. But she didn't know she had also stolen his heart. The palace was quiet when he returned, but not for long. The news spread like fire in Harmattan. "The prince is back." He was hiding in a village. Who healed him? Servants whispered. Chiefs gathered. His father, the king, cried when he saw him. My son, my only son, the old man whispered, pulling him into a weak embrace. But the celebration was short. The prince's uncle, a sharp-eyed man with a calm voice and dangerous smile, watched from the corner. You left at the wrong time, he said. The council was ready to choose a new heir. The prince smiled politely, but his eyes didn't. Too bad I came back, he replied. He resumed royal duties, but his heart stayed behind in that small compound with the girl who refused his hand. One evening, as the sky turned orange, he called his most trusted guard. Go to the village. Give her this. It was a letter, sealed with his royal stamp. The guard rode off, and the prince waited. Meanwhile, the girl had returned to her normal life. She laughed when the neighbors teased her and said she missed her chance. Royalty is not for everyone, one woman said, rolling her eyes. But her heart, it hadn't moved on. When the guard arrived, she froze. He bowed and handed her the letter without a word. She opened it with shaky hands. I meant it when I asked you to come with me. You didn't save a prince. You saved a man. And the man still wants you by his side. If you can forgive me for not telling the truth, I'll be waiting. This time, with slippers. She stared at the letter for a long time. Her mother, peeking over her shoulder, grinned. You better pack your things before I pack them for you. But she didn't smile. She just whispered, what if I go, and he changes? Her mother shrugged. Then at least go and see for yourself. Not every road leads to regret. Some lead to gold. She didn't sleep that night. The letter sat beside her mat like a quiet voice refusing to fade. Her mother snored gently, but her eyes remained open, fixed on the thatched ceiling. By morning, she had made a decision. She wore her cleanest blouse and the brown skirt she only used for church. She oiled her hair, packed it neatly, and dusted her sandals till they looked new. Her mother wrapped dry fish and groundnut in a small cloth and handed it to her with a wink. Royalty or not, man must eat. They hugged. It was brief, but full of unspoken things. As she left the compound, neighbors lined the road pretending to fetch water or sweep. One or two waved. Some didn't. But none dared mock her again. She reached the palace gates by evening. The guards didn't question her. The letter had done its work. One of them nodded and led her inside. The palace was nothing like anything she'd imagined. Wide courtyards, shiny tiles, statues and carvings that looked like they could talk. Servants moved like whispers, all dressed alike. She felt small, like a seed in a forest. But when he stepped into view, she forgot everything else. He wore a white native attire, clean and smooth, and his smile lit up the corridor. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. I wasn't sure either, she replied. He stepped closer. I missed you. She looked around. You live in another world. Then let me build a bridge between both of us. She smiled, just a little. This doesn't feel real. He took her hand. I've been to the edge of death. This is the most real thing I've ever known. The guards watched quietly. The walls didn't speak. But something in the air shifted. And for the first time since he left her compound, she allowed herself to believe. Maybe this story wasn't just about who he was. Maybe it was also about who she could become. Her presence in the palace stirred whispers like dry leaves in harmattan. Some servants stared. Some bowed awkwardly. Others looked past her like she didn't exist. But the prince didn't care. He introduced her as someone who matters, and that was enough to turn many mouths quiet, at least in his presence. He showed her around the palace, one space at a time. This is the garden my mother planted before she died, he said, leading her past rows of scent leaf and hibiscus. She touched the petals gently. "It smells like peace here." He smiled. "That's why I come here when my head is full." Their walks became daily. She learned how to eat with forks, though she still preferred her fingers. She learned how to greet chiefs without stepping out of line. She even sat through a royal council meeting, quietly, behind a screen, just to understand his world. But not everyone was pleased. His uncle watched her closely, always with a smile that didn't touch his eyes. One afternoon, he called her aside. "You're brave," he said, voice smooth like oil. "But don't mistake kindness for permanence. These palace walls don't bend for strangers." She nodded slowly. "Then I'll build my own space here. Even if it's small." He chuckled darkly. "We'll see how long you last." She didn't reply. She just walked away. That evening, the prince found her by the window, staring at the moon. "You've been quiet," he said. "Your uncle doesn't like me." "He doesn't like anyone." She turned to him. "Do I belong here?" He reached into his robe and brought out something, a small beaded bracelet. "It was my mother's. She said I should give it to someone whose heart is bigger than their mouth. I've been keeping it." He tied it gently around her wrist. "You belong wherever I am." Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. For the first time, the palace felt less like a cage and more like a door. Palace life didn't get easier, but she grew stronger. She stopped flinching when nobles rolled their eyes. She smiled through awkward dinners and stood tall when elders tried to make her feel small. The prince never left her side, and that alone made her unshakable. But storms were coming. One morning, the prince was summoned urgently to the king's chamber. When he returned, his face was tight. "What's wrong?" she asked. "My father, he wants me to marry." Her chest tightened. "So soon?" "It's political. They want peace with another kingdom." She nodded slowly. "And the girl?" "She's a princess," he said. "Someone raised in gold." Silence stood between them like a wall. "I see," she whispered. "No. Listen." "It's fine," she said quickly. "You're a prince. You must do what's best for your people." He moved closer. "I don't want her. I want you. And if the kingdom wants otherwise, I'll fight them." She looked into his eyes. "But will you win?" That night, she packed a small bag. Just in case. By morning, the news had spread. Chiefs were already preparing for an engagement ceremony. The girl hadn't even arrived yet, but the palace was buzzing. She stood by the garden gate, heartbreaking quietly. Then she heard footsteps. He came running, breathless. "Wait." She turned. "I didn't say goodbye." "I told them no," he said. Her eyes widened. "You what?" "I told them to dethrone me if they must. But I won't marry a stranger to please anyone." Tears filled her eyes again. "You gave up everything." He touched her face gently. "Not everything. I still have you." Behind them, the king walked out, supported by guards. His voice was weak but firm. "She saved your life. She gave you back to me. If she's your choice, then so be it." And just like that, the wind changed. From stranger to royal bride. From helper to heart keeper. The girl who had no idea she saved a prince had unknowingly saved herself too.